The top business story is live from the Sky News City studio.
3, 2, 1.
Aldi announces a 50% expansion of its supermarket stores in the UK. I've been speaking with the chief executive.
We're spending £1.3 billion. That's seeing 40 new Aldi stores opening this year. That's actually one every 7 days.
Another FTSE 100 company, Smurfit Kappa, looks set to abandon the London stock market for New York. Plus, the Lloyd's of London insurance market is back in the black, and the Lloyd's insurer Beazley has reported record profits. I'll be speaking to the chief executives of both. Good morning, this is Business Live with me, Ian King. Well, in a moment, we're expecting to hear from the Justice Secretary, Alex Chalk, on the manhunt for the escaped prisoner, Dania Abed Khalif. We'll be bringing you that statement in the House of Commons live. But first, the German supermarket chain Aldi opened its first store in the UK in Birmingham in 1990. This morning, it opened its 1,000th and announced plans for another 500 as part of a £1.3 billion investment. I've been speaking to Giles Hurley, Aldi's Ireland and UK chief executive, and asked him why he was embarking on this expansion.
We've undertaken a strategic review of our store estate on the back of our 1,000th store opening today, and we're currently actually in an expansion programme, which is the second year of an expansion programme, where we're spending £1.3 billion. That's seeing 40 new Aldi stores opening this year. That's actually one every 7 days between now and Christmas. And I envisage that investment is going to continue into the future to support our long-term strategic aim of 1,500 stores.
Is your parent company, Aldi Süd, investing this sort of money anywhere else in the world, or is this its biggest financial outlay?
Yeah, difficult for me to comment on what's happening in other Aldi markets. Well, what I can talk to you about is very much what we're doing here in the UK. I think for some time we've recognised the UK has huge potential, and Aldi is now more popular than it's ever been. And you know, it's the demand, which I guess is giving us the confidence to continue to scale and expand the business. And I think what we recognise most of all is that there are communities across the UK who continue to pay high prices for their groceries because they only have access to a traditional full-price supermarket or their more expensive convenience arm. And you know, we've long had the view at Aldi that healthy, affordable food is a right, not a privilege.
Typically, what sort of formats are the new stores going to be trading from?
Yeah, we have very much a standard footprint, which is around 1,350 square metres with around 100 parking spaces. And we're looking for sites the length and the breadth of the country. So from Harrogate to Hackney, from Bath to Brentwood, we're seeking to deliver new Aldi stores to communities across the country.
You're not targeting one particular geographic location, then? This is nationwide?
No, this is absolutely a nationwide opportunity. Clearly, we have some areas in the country where we already have a greater presence, but you know, there's a demand for our offer now more than ever, and I think customers are really prioritising value, and you know, our offer has universal appeal because of its very low prices. We've actually welcomed more than 1.1 million new customers over the last 12 months, switching from other supermarkets because they recognise that they can get incredible value at a fraction of the price they pay in other supermarkets.
Typically, how long does a new store take to pay back the investment that's been made in it?
I mean, we have, obviously, like any business, financial modelling, which looks very carefully at the capex, the outlay, and the return period. And you know, we're very excited that when we've reviewed the opportunity here, that we can comfortably see 500 stores which can develop and contribute to the business, but also service communities across the UK.
Are you confident of finding the space that you require?
Yes, we are. I mean, there is a huge opportunity across the UK, and our ambition and appetite and the will to grow the business is.
Right, I'm sorry about that. We will be playing out the remainder of the Aldi interview later on in our 4:30 programme. And now we're going to the House of Commons, where the Justice Secretary Alex Chalk is making a statement on the escaped prisoner Daniel Abed Khalif.
Daniel Khalif was remanded in custody at HMP Wandsworth on the 28th of January this year, having been charged with offences alleged to have taken place in 2021 while he was serving in the armed forces. As you, Madam Deputy Speaker, have already indicated, the House will understand that while there is a live criminal investigation in progress, there are limits on what I can properly say. Daniel Khalif will be caught in due course and will face a trial. Nothing should be said in this House or elsewhere that might prejudice those proceedings. So let me assist the House with what I can say. At approximately 7:30 yesterday morning, a vehicle which had made a delivery to the prison's kitchen left HMP Wandsworth. Shortly afterwards, local contingency plans for an unaccounted prisoner were activated, and in line with standard procedure, the police were informed. The prison was put into a state of lockdown while staff attempted to determine Daniel Khalif's whereabouts. The vehicle was stopped and searched by police after the alert was raised. Strapping was found underneath the vehicle, which appeared to indicate that Daniel Khalif may have held onto the underside of it in order to escape. The search is underway. His Majesty's Prison and Probation Service are giving every assistance to the Metropolitan Police's operation to recapture Daniel Khalif and return him to custody. As has been made clear by the Metropolitan Police, there is no reason to believe he poses a threat to the wider public. Yesterday, when I was first briefed on this grave security breach, I spoke to the Governor of HMP Wandsworth and senior HMPPS leaders to establish what was known about the escape and seek assurances about the immediate measures being taken to ensure the security of the prison. I made clear then, and I reiterate now, that no stone must be left unturned in getting to the bottom of what happened. Who was on duty that morning? In what roles? Ranging from the kitchen to the prison gate. What protocols were in place? Were they followed? Second, I've ordered an investigation into the categorisation decision by HMPPS. Were all relevant matters taken into consideration in determining where in the custodial estate Daniel Khalif should be held? In both cases, I've asked for the preliminary findings to be with me by the end of this week, and an assessment will be made then about what can properly be put into the public domain. I have also decided there will need to be an additional independent investigation into this incident, and that will take place in due course. I want to turn, Madam Deputy Speaker, to the wider prisoner cohort held by HMPPS. In light of these events, I've ordered two urgent reviews. First, into the placement and categorisation of everyone held in HMP Wandsworth, and second, into the location of all those in the custodial estate charged with terrorism offences. Let me turn now to the issue of prison security. As the House will no doubt be aware, escapes from prison are extremely rare, and the numbers have declined substantially in the last 10 to 15 years. This has been due in considerable part to sustained investment in improved physical and intelligence security. That includes investment of £100 million in the period since 2019 on measures such as enhanced gate security with X-ray body scanners, which has driven up the finds of drugs, weapons and other contraband, including tools that could be used to aid in escape from prison. HMPPS has also enhanced intelligence and anti-corruption operations in prison, working more closely than ever with partners including the intelligence agencies. This has involved productive initiatives such as setting up the joint counter-terrorism, prisons and probation hub. Madam Deputy Speaker, Daniel Khalif will be found and he will be made to face justice. I commend this statement to the House.
Shadow Secretary of State, Shabana Mahmood.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank the Secretary of State for advance sight of his statement. And I would like to reiterate our support for the police and all of those who are involved in the search to recapture Daniel Khalife. And I very much hope that that search will be brought to a swift and successful conclusion so that the rest of the legal process may take place. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is an extremely serious matter, and it has highlighted catastrophic and multiple failures, not just in respect of this case, but of our wider criminal justice system. It simply beggars belief that a man being held on suspected terror charges was able to escape a prison by clinging to the bottom of a food delivery van. The simplest question for the Justice Secretary today is how on earth was this allowed to happen? How is such an escape even possible? And nothing that he has said to the House today so far gets us remotely close to a full answer to this central question. Now, I know he will say when he responds to me that it is early days, that he has ordered the relevant investigations and they must have some time to conclude. But with respect, Madam Deputy Speaker, it gives me no confidence that the Secretary of State has today arrived with a list of very basic questions that, frankly, he should already know some of the answers to and be able to share with the House today. I note with complete agreement both what he says and your direction, Madam Deputy Speaker, that nothing must be said either in the chamber or indeed anywhere else that may prejudice any future trial or indeed the live operation that is currently underway. But the circumstances and the facts of the escape itself are a separate matter that it is of legitimate and urgent concern to this House and also to the wider public, and that is separate from the nature of any and all charges that will form the basis of future trials or other investigations. And really, the Justice Secretary does need to give much fuller answers to the House today rather than a list of his own questions. And so on the circumstances of the escape itself, can he at least tell the House when he responds how many staff were on duty at Wandsworth Prison yesterday? Is he confident, and can he tell us that all of the relevant searches were done, and where there are failures, perhaps the number of protocols that he is concerned may have been breached? Will his investigations assess the quality of the training and the experience of prison staff at HMP Wandsworth? And will he be bringing in any additional expertise to assist with those matters whilst he is getting on top of the facts himself? In respect of the categorisation of this particular prisoner, Madam Deputy Speaker, why was a suspected terror offender held at a Category B jail whilst on remand, despite many other suspected and indeed convicted terrorists being held in the high security estate? Why was Daniel Khalife moved from Belmarsh to Wandsworth? And can he at least tell us whether a risk assessment before any such move took place was undertaken? That is at least a yes or a no answer. Can you tell us how many similar suspects are in Category B or indeed HMP Wandsworth, and what is the timescale for such an assessment? In relation to the two urgent reviews, may I say to him with respect, it should be a relatively short exercise to get across the detail and indeed the total number of the current prison population at Wandsworth, and the fact that the Justice Secretary hasn't come to the House with even that small amount of detail, I think I do have to say, Madam Deputy Speaker, is unacceptable. On the issue of the location of all of those charged with terror offences, can you tell us the total number of the individuals that are being considered in this category as of today across the whole of the prison estate? When will that urgent review of those numbers, and I hope he can share the total number, when will that urgent review take place? And I accept he cannot share any details, but does he know the number of individuals that might be of concern and who may need to be moved to a different location given the events of yesterday? On the broader investigation, Madam Deputy Speaker, I note the Secretary of State has ordered a fuller investigation. Can he say anything today in his response to me in relation to the terms of reference for such an investigation? What does he envisage for the timescale for that longer, fuller investigation? investigation? And on the matter of independence, can he give us some reassurance as to whether he will make sure that it won't be a case of him and others who are responsible ultimately for this failure marking their own homework? What consideration is he given to the independence and the identity of who might be carrying out that investigation for him? Madam Deputy Speaker, the developments of the last 24 hours have shown us yet another example of the Conservative mismanagement, which has meant that they are unable to run vast swathes of the public realm, whether it be schools threatening our children's education and their learning, or now with a terror suspect on the loose. Ultimately, one of the main functions of government is to keep its citizens safe. And on his watch, Madam Deputy Speaker, courts are in crisis, probation is in crisis, the CPS is in crisis, and prisons are in crisis. So finally, when will the Secretary of State get a grip?
Well, that was Alex Chalk, the Justice Secretary. His statement only a third of the time as the response from his Labour shadow there. We'll have more reaction to that later on in the afternoon here on Sky News, but the headline there is that an independent investigation is to take place into that jailbreak. Apologies that we broke into our interview with the Aldi Chief Executive. You can see more of that interview in our 4:30 programme this afternoon. Now, the insurer Beazley has reported record half-year profits despite a sharp rise in the cost of meeting claims. The FTSE 100 company, which manages Lloyd's of London syndicates specialising in fields such as cybercrime, marine, catastrophe and property, reported a pre-tax profit of $366.4 million for the 6 months to the end of June. That was up $1.5 million on the same period last year. Well, joining me now is Adrian Cox. He's the Chief Executive of Beazley. Mr. Cox, welcome to you. Thanks for waiting so patiently to speak to us. Your written premiums were up 13%. How much of that was volume and how much of it was price?
About 6% of that was price, and the rest is volume.
And which of the lines?
This morning, by the way.
And which of the lines where you saw most demand?
We saw real increasing demand for property insurance, particularly in North America, and in cyber insurance, which is our fastest growing product.
So what's driving the interest in property in particular?
The impact of climate change and changing weather patterns has caused all sorts of issues around the world in terms of new and unexpected things happening, be they wildfires, tornadoes, hurricanes happening where they shouldn't, new sorts of convective storms. And I think that's really increased the uncertainty around property insurance. And it's moved to the specialty insurance market. And as a specialty insurer, that's the sort of thing that we do.
Now, you mentioned cyber. Very interestingly, earlier this year, you launched a standalone cyber war product separately from your other cyber cover. What's take-up been like there?
We plan to launch that in Q4. There's a lot of interest in it because the events of the last few years have shown that there is a link between the sort of cyber crime that gangs do and nation states that may want to use it in a different way. So I think there will be quite a strong take-up when we launch it later on this year.
It's quite a challenge for you, though, presumably, because the risks for this are almost unknowable at times.
Well, they're not unknowable. They just haven't happened yet. And I think the trick with cyber insurance is to understand the interconnectivity around the world, how things work, how systems could be attacked and how that could be prevented. If a system is attacked, how long will that go down for, and how long will that take to get back up? And we model and scenario plan for that sort of thing that allows us to take that risk for our clients and still protect the equity of our shareholders.
And what was the thinking behind launching a separate cyber war product?
So war generally is not covered by insurance because it's a huge existential risk. It's a government issue, generally speaking. Having said that, we can from time to time specifically write war for companies that really need it, and we can control the aggregates. There are some companies around the world and institutions around the world that do face war exposure, particularly be they certain financial institutions or critical infrastructure. And I think it's important that the insurance industry, for those specific instances, can provide that sort of risk transfer. And so that's why we're working on it.
All right, Adrian, there was lots more I wanted to ask you, but I'm afraid we've lost a bit of time this morning. Do appreciate you joining me on such a busy day. Thank you. Well, still to come here on Business Live, it is a big day for insurance results. Next, I'll be speaking to the Chief Executive of Lloyd's of London. Don't go away.
I'm Katie Spencer and I'm Sky News' arts and entertainment correspondent. You think think of Glastonbury, it's mud you want and music. They're going to cross to us live in a minute.
Okay. We always were capable of doing this.
Oh, they're wonderful children as an audience.
Who did that?
Maverick here on the red carpet. I'm so excited. We take you to the heart of the stories that shape our world.
Nor have I ever struck any woman in my life.
There's this illusion of power.
Are you feeling well?
I remember covering the Oscars and that now infamous moment, the Will Smith slap. You can tell from these crowds just how excited people are for the return of Fly.
These actors playing the lead roles were born long after the Sex Pistols broke up.
As a team, we've interviewed some of the biggest stars in the world.
Okay, I'll talk to you.
Don't leave me!
Yeah, okay.
There's no easy goodies. There's no easy baddies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Welcome back. Now, before the break, we spoke to Beazley, which manages a number of syndicates on the Lloyd's of London insurance market. Well, Lloyd's itself has today announced its return to the black. A pre-tax profit of £3.9 billion for the first 6 months of the year, compared with a loss of £1.8 billion for the same period last year, when the start of the war in Ukraine generated a flurry of claims and hit investment returns. But joining me now, pleased to say, is John Neal. He's the Chief Executive of Lloyd's of London. John, welcome to you. When we last spoke, you were predicting growth in demand for insurance at 20%. You've actually topped that in this half.
Good morning, Ian. It's good to see Adrian Cox as well, and congratulations to him on his results. Yeah, it's an outstanding set of results we're reporting it. And as you know, it's been coming. We felt that we could grow, and we genuinely feel that we're in a pattern of growth in revenue and earnings going forward. So 22% growth in premiums, strong financial results. Good place to be, good time to be in insurance. You know, it's been a while, isn't it, since both sides of the P&L perform. Our assets under management are now getting an attractive yield. And of course, the day job's doing well as well.
Now, one of the big achievements of the market has been supporting the export of Ukrainian grains and fertilisers through the Black Sea deal. Obviously, that deal is now, Russia's pulled out of it. Does the market stand ready to support these exports if it's revived?
I mean, it's a great question. The answer is we do. On two levels. So you look at the Ukraine insurance market per se, quite a small market. It's only £1 billion of income, quite a small market, but well supported by actually Canadian insurers and, believe it or not, Austrian insurers. So how can we help them to do what they need to do day in, day out in the Ukraine? And of course, we stand with the UN in trying to find an alternate solution to the one that was in place. And our way of doing that is via government, because it is so complicated with the sanctions and the obligations that sit there. But yes, of course, we are ready, willing and able, but it's difficult. It's difficult. Do you
get any sense, John, from the parties involved, whether a revival of the Black Sea Initiative is likely?
I think a version of it must be, honestly. And I think it was a reluctance on the part of the Russians who need to participate in this, to want to make it work, that's caused the impasse at the moment. But as you and I know the UN are super active in their governmental conversations. So the right thing to do is to stand behind them and give them the assurance that when they can get to a point of agreement amongst all parties, there'll be no hesitation on our part to provide the insurance support they're looking for.
Now, another thing that's keeping you busy is that you're leading the insurance task force for the King's Sustainability in Markets initiative. What's the latest there?
Yeah. I mean, what's been fantastic about that opportunity is that, you've got almost 200 CEOs of various business across various industries, whether it's agriculture, whether it's energy, working out what we might be able to do. So I think the issue for us in financial services, whether it's banks or insurers, is how do we mobilize the finance to affect the transition? So for me, there's three bits. One's resilience. How do we provide insurance today against climate risks? Two, how do we support transition? And three, how do we support the ambition for growth of industry? And that, I think, is so important for UK PLC as well. We want to continually reprove our credentials as a financial services centre and be valued for that as insurers.
Obviously, the first half of the year was fairly quiet for catastrophe claims. What kind of assumptions are you making for the second half?
So similarly, we set aside roughly 10 or 11% of our collected income we assume will be needed for natural catastrophes. I mean, oddly, it's not as quiet as people think. That there were big convective storms in the US through first half of the year. We saw wildfires in Hawaii. We saw a Dalio go through Florida. We've seen storms in July in Italy. So I think the weather.
John, I'm so sorry. We're out of time. Do apologise.
No
Great
problem.
to see you as ever. Thanks, John.
Good to see you, Ian. Thank you.
That's it.